Left at the altar, she uncovered her ex's chilling secret. His last fiancée vanished. So she crashed his new wedding dressed as the missing woman. But the twist? She didn't just expose him, she uncovered a trail of lies leading to a burned cabin, a hidden identity, and a bride who might still be alive. I was supposed to get married at 4 p.m. At 3:47 I was still standing in the bridal suite, veil pinned, bouquet clutched, heart racing like it knew something I didn't. At 4:02 my maid of honor came in, pale-faced and trembling. At 4:03 she whispered the words that cracked my ribs open. "He's not coming." No call. No note. No explanation. He just left. Guests still sipping champagne. My dad offering nervous jokes. My mother sobbing in the hallway. And me? I stood in front of the mirror. And I didn't cry. Because something about the silence felt too familiar. Too scripted. We'd been together for 3 years. His name was Daniel. Kind. Quiet. The type who opened jars without being asked. Who remembered how I took my coffee. Who never raised his voice, not once. But he also had gaps. Time he couldn't account for. Friends I never met. An ex named Sasha who, according to him, ghosted him out of nowhere. No one ever really talked about her. Which is why, the day after my non-wedding, I found myself typing her name into a browser and following the digital breadcrumbs she left behind like a woman walking barefoot through glass. What I found? She didn't ghost him. She vanished. Sasha Hill. 29. Last seen leaving a coffee shop in Daniel's neighborhood. Her car was found 5 blocks from his condo. Wallet in the front seat. Cell phone missing. No trace since. No news coverage. No case updates. No suspects. Just a Reddit thread with 6 comments and one theory. Her fiancé did it. But no one could prove it. Fiancé. Daniel told me they just dated. So I dug deeper. And what I found? Wedding registries. Photos. A save-the-date email archived in an old Google cache with her name and his. Same venue as mine. Same date. Different year. Chills don't crawl. They claw. 3 months passed. I didn't hear from him. Until one night, a message request slid into my DMs from a fake account. She was weak. "You won't be." No name. No context. But I knew who it was from. I knew what it meant. That was the moment I stopped grieving. And started planning. I tracked him. Quietly. Carefully. Daniel moved states. Changed jobs. Started dating someone new. A girl named Emily with soft eyes and a social media full of "he's the one" captions. I watched their engagement unfold online. She wore my ring. They announced their wedding. Same venue. New city. Summer. Almost poetic. I RSVP'd under a name I hadn't used since college. Booked a hotel room across the street. And on the morning of the ceremony, I pulled the old photos of Sasha from her engagement shoot, the ones the internet forgot to bury. Her dress. Vintage lace. Champagne silk. High neckline. Open back. I had one custom made. Perfect replica. At 3:58 p.m. I walked through the back doors of the church, just as Emily started down the aisle. No one noticed me at first. Not until I stepped onto the runner. Gasp. Whispers. Someone dropped a phone. Daniel turned. And froze. Because I wasn't just crashing the wedding. I was wearing Sasha's dress. He blinked. Shook his head. The color drained from his face like ink in water. Emily turned to him, confused. The crowd shifted in uncomfortable waves. And then I spoke. Loud. Clear. "You told me Sasha disappeared. You told me she left. But Daniel? Why did you keep her dress?" Gasps echoed through the chapel like a dropped glass shattering in slow motion. Emily stood frozen mid-aisle, clutching her bouquet like it might turn into a weapon. The string quartet sputtered to a confused stop. A whisper rippled through the guests as phones rose, hands trembled and camera flashes blinked like startled fireflies. And Daniel? Daniel looked like he'd seen a ghost. Because in his mind he had. I wasn't just a jilted ex crashing the ceremony. I was a woman wearing Sasha's wedding dress, the exact dress his last fiancée never got to walk down the aisle in. The one she supposedly left behind. The one she supposedly never showed up in. The one he claimed never arrived at all. He stumbled back a step. "Is this some kind of joke?" he choked out, eyes flicking from me to Emily, who was slowly realizing that her perfect Pinterest wedding had just turned into a true crime scene. I smiled. Not wide. Just enough. "Do I look like I'm joking, Daniel?" The silence that followed was the loudest sound I'd ever heard. I turned to the crowd. "My name is not Alyssa Green," I said, gesturing to the fake RSVP name I used. "It's Claire." Claire Holloway. Some of you might know me as the woman he left at the altar 6 months ago. Collective gasp. Someone in the third pew dropped their wine glass. And before me, I continued, there was someone else. I pulled the printed photo from my clutch. Sasha, glowing in a low-resolution engagement photo, Daniel's hand on her waist, the same ring on her finger. The same smile he wore when he proposed to me. Her name was Sasha Hill. She never made it to her wedding. She disappeared. But she left something behind. I turned, slowly letting the dress speak for itself. This. Daniel stepped forward, voice shaking. Claire, I swear to God. Don't, I snapped. Not here. Not now. Not when you've got a room full of people who are finally listening. Emily turned to him wild-eyed. What is she talking about? Who's Sasha? He didn't answer. So I did. She was his fiancée. 1 year before me. Same date. Same venue. Except she vanished. No one investigated. No one questioned. Because Daniel said she ghosted him. I walked down the aisle, slow, steady. I believed him. Until I didn't. It wasn't just the dress. I had done my homework. I'd spent nights combing through public records, old security footage, bank statements, receipts. Sasha's car was found 5 blocks from Daniel's old condo. Her last phone ping? Same location. A neighbor's doorbell cam caught Daniel hauling something to his trunk at 3 a.m. The timestamp matched the night Sasha left. It had taken months to pull it all together. But I had it. On a flash drive in my clutch. I tossed it toward the best man. Give that to the police, I said. If they need more, I've got copies. Emily was crying now. Daniel looked like he might run. He didn't. He lunged. Straight at me. But before he could reach me, 2 groomsmen, good guys who apparently weren't thrilled to learn they were in the wedding party of a suspected murderer, grabbed him. Pulled him back. Someone shouted to call 911. Emily dropped the bouquet. I didn't flinch. The cops came 20 minutes later. Daniel was silent as they cuffed him. No outbursts. No pleading. Just that look. The one he gave me the day he left me at the altar. But this time, I was the one walking away. And he was the one with nowhere left to run. That night, I stood in the mirror of a cheap motel bathroom, still in Sasha's dress, the zipper torn from the struggle. Mascara smudged. Lips chapped. Hands shaking. But I smiled. Because the story was over. And this time, I got to write the ending. 3 weeks after the wedding that wasn't, Daniel's mugshot was trending. Eyes hollow. Lips split. Jaw clenched like the truth still tasted like blood. News anchors said words like, suspected foul play, emerging evidence, and pattern of psychological abuse. Everyone else just said what they were really thinking. He did it. She knew. That dress, iconic. I hadn't planned to become a viral moment. I didn't want interviews. Didn't want podcasts knocking on my inbox like vultures with ring lights. But the flash drive I handed over at the wedding? It had weight. And the weight crushed him. Daniel's past started bleeding out in all directions. A coworker came forward saying he had weird late nights at the office. A barista remembered how Sasha used to come in every morning, and then suddenly stopped. There was even a woman from college. Said he love-bombed her. Gaslit her. Followed her for 6 months after she broke up with him. No one ever put it together before. But once someone stands up and shouts fire, everyone realizes they've been smelling smoke for years. I watched from a distance. No press. No statements. I changed my number. Dyed my hair. Deleted every photo of us from my phone, not because I needed to move on but because I needed to control what was left behind. They called me the runaway bride hunter on TikTok. The real crime girlies knew my name. True crime channels dissected every step I took, how I pieced it all together, how I walked in wearing her dress like a ghost with a grudge. They turned it into entertainment. But for me, it was still personal. Then the letter came. No return address. Just my name. Inside, a folded piece of notebook paper in handwriting I hadn't seen since the day he left me at the altar. You looked beautiful in her dress. But you'll never know where she is. One line. That's it. He was taunting me. Even in custody, even without a platform, he still wanted control of the ending. But here's what Daniel didn't know. I wasn't done either. Because while the police were still combing through his old records, I'd already started digging in places they hadn't. Storage units. Remote airbs under burner names. A safety deposit box in Sasha's name, opened 2 weeks after she went missing. And in it? A photo. A blurry, time-stamped image from a gas station camera. 2 figures. One clearly Daniel. The other? Wearing that dress. But her face was turned away. Was Sasha still alive? Was she hiding? Had she tried to run only to be caught again? Or had someone helped her vanish? I wasn't sure. But I had time. And a map of all the places Daniel had ever been. And this time, I wasn't walking down an aisle. I was walking into the unknown. Because maybe this story didn't end at the wedding. Maybe it ended where it should have started. With the girl who vanished. And the woman who refused to let her stay forgotten. It started with a photo. Blurry. Grainy. Pulled from a gas station camera that should have overwritten itself 2 years ago, if not for a clerk who never figured out the automatic sync. 2 people. 1 gas pump. Daniel. And someone in that dress. Champagne silk. High neckline. Open back. The dress he claimed never arrived. The dress I wore to destroy him. But this image? It was time-stamped 4 days after Sasha went missing. 4 days after the world stopped looking. The police were still piecing together their case. Slow. Careful. Clinical. They treated Sasha like a cold file. I didn't have that luxury. Because now I knew something no one else did. She didn't vanish. Not right away. She ran. And I had to find out where she went. I started with Daniel's credit card records. Not the real ones, those were locked behind warrants, but the burner cards he used to fund his private expenses. The ones I discovered through my own research back when I was digging into him for revenge, not rescue. Turns out, Daniel was predictable. He liked patterns. Same coffee orders. Same gas stations. Same weekend getaways. One charge stood out, a 3-night stay at a remote mountain cabin in Montana. Booked under a fake name. Paid with one of those burner cards. Exactly 5 days after Sasha disappeared. So I went there. The cabin was abandoned now. Dusty. Smelled like mice and mildew. But the rental log still had the name from that booking. J. Baxter. A fake, obviously. But under the coffee table, jammed between a floorboard and a heating vent, I found a necklace. Delicate. Tarnished. With a tiny-ish charm. It was hers. I was sure of it. Because Daniel had shown it to me once. In a photo he kept in his wallet back when I was the one dreaming of floral centerpieces and honeymoon flights. She wore this everywhere, he'd said. Even when she slept. And now, she'd left it behind. That night I didn't sleep. Instead, I opened a burner laptop and started combing through every missing person's message board, dark web archive, and encrypted forum I knew. And that's when I found the post. It was anonymous. 2 weeks old. Buried deep. The simple question. Is it still considered running if no one's chasing you anymore? There were no replies. But the username? Was familiar. Sash33. Her old username. From a writing blog she deleted after college. I clicked the profile. Only one other post from a year ago. When you leave a man like him, you don't leave breadcrumbs. You leave landmines. She was alive. Or at least, she had been. And she didn't want to be found. But me? I wasn't looking to drag her back. I was looking for the truth. I traced the IP address to a co-op server based in Washington state, near a tiny town called Rainford that barely had a population of 3,000. I rented a car, packed a bag, and drove through 4 states with nothing but podcasts, caffeine, and the ghost of a woman I'd never met but couldn't stop chasing. Rainford was small. Postcard pretty. Mountains. Pines. The kind of place you hide in plain sight. I asked around quietly. Pretended to be a freelance writer. I'm researching stories of women who went off-grid, I said. Ever met anyone who just disappeared? Most people gave me blank stares. A few gave polite no's. But one woman, a librarian named Hazel, tilted her head when I mentioned the necklace. She works at the nursery, she said. Well, she did. Quiet girl. Real private. Kept her hood up even in July. One day she just stopped showing up. No notice. No forwarding address. I asked if she had a name. Hazel just shrugged. She told folks to call her June. June. J. Baxter. My heart started hammering. I found the nursery, closed. But the records were still there. One name stood out on the payroll, J. Baxter. Paid in cash. Hired the summer Sasha vanished. That was it. I had her. Or so I thought. Because when I traced the last address listed under that alias, it was burned down. Charred wood. Caution tape. Fire department report said it was electrical. No injuries. No fatalities. Whoever lived there was already gone when the flames hit. I sat in the ash for a long time. And I realized something. Sasha wasn't running from Daniel anymore. She was running from everyone. From the story. From the attention. From the version of her that only existed in missing posters and podcast theories. And who could blame her? She didn't want justice. She wanted freedom. And in that moment I finally understood. This wasn't about saving her. This wasn't about exposing Daniel anymore. It wasn't even about revenge. It was about letting go. So I stood in the wreckage. I took off the necklace. And I buried it in the dirt beneath a pine tree, where no one would ever find it again. I drove home the next day. No interviews. No articles. I turned down every book deal. Deleted every saved file. And for the first time in what felt like years, I slept through the night. Daniel's trial starts next month. They say he might take a plea deal. It doesn't matter. Because he'll never be free. Not really. And Sasha? Wherever she is, she finally is.